In this series of videos, you're going to see the Gelli plate. The Gelli plate is actually made of a silicone rubber. What's nice about the Gelli plate is that you can use it for different types of monoprinting techniques, which I'll show you. There are so many ways to approach this that I only did a few. So I'll show you at first different prints that I made as examples, how to take care of your Gelli plate, how to use your Gelli plate with tools, and then from there you'll see other things like overprinting, over inking, two color stencils, reductive, and painting. So here I'm going to be doing overprinting. So basically with overprinting, you're going to use a darker color behind originally, like the flat, so I'll be using the blue. And here I'm using some really old ink. It's just actually tempera paint. And what's nice about the tempera paint is it is going to give a luminosity to the print. And so just going to ink it up. And when I mean luminosity, it gives it kind of a sheen. And I'm going to put a little more down because you can see that it still does not have enough paint on it or ink. And I'm trying to get as even as possible. And I decided I'm going to use a piece of fabric so that will create a stencil on the edge. I'm just pushing it down. And then I decided I also want to reduce with some paintbrush strokes. And then I'm going to put this already made flat on top. And see, it's a dark color with actually a dark colored pewter tempera paint. Pushing down with my hand because I want it to be very soft. And then I'm going to use the spoon to really make a much more deep impression. You can also do this with varnishes or gloss mediums and matte mediums. And see there, once it dries down, you're going to see that kind of silvery sheen. Now I'm going to print again with this without inking up and taking off the fabric, and I'm going to use this on this blue flat that I created. And since this paper is so delicate, I'm just using my hand to print, not a spoon first, and then I'm using the spoon. And sometimes I even like to use wax paper between the spoon and the paper. And then here you're going to just see that really soft edge. Here I'm just going to do a bunch of different things. So first I have a lot of ink down, and so that's kind of interesting in a way because I can make a flat and strip the board, which means I'm just taking a lot of ink away. But then I can use that maybe if it looks consistent for a flat for later, and then overprint like you saw with the luminosity printing. And then you can also use a lighter color on top even. So there it is. Make sure you let it dry because it has a lot of ink on it. So now I'm not inking up, I'm actually going to reduce with a paintbrush. And then I'm going to print that. You can still see there's a lot of ink, but that's good because now I'm just using whatever I have on the Gelli plate to print with. And there is the brushstroke one. So you could use that and print on top of that too. Now I'm putting some more ink down. And I'm going to use some fabric this time. And I think I just found that. I just use whatever's around to kind of play with for these demos. And it's amazing when you use different types of paper, you get different effects as well. So then with the lighter paper, you can use that to Shinkle to the heavier weight paper. Once it's dry, of course. And also notice how both of my brayers are facing up. You never want a brayer with the rubber facing on the table. You can dent the brayer. So I used the second piece of paper on top of the one that I'm printing on just to protect that piece of paper too. Slowly pulling it off. And here's the fabric one. It's really strange because a lot of times they look very, very photographic almost. So putting down more ink. And when I'm done with all of this, I like to just wash it all with water and then dry it with a paper towel or a rag. So you don't want to put any solvents on top of the jelly plate. And sometimes you can use like soap and water even. Just make sure that you dry the jelly plate before you put it away. Now I'm going to wipe away the edges because I got ink there. And the reason I put the duct tape down is actually to protect the registration board. So here I'm using a Q-tip, and Q-tips can be a really wonderful way to make line. And you can use saran wrap. You could use and press aluminum foil. Let me use some more brushstrokey stuff. And then I decided I even want to put a little bit of green in there. Why? Just because I can. I'm going to dot it in there. And you can just keep putting color on top. It's really how you think about your work and what is going to look right at the end. And there's that, and you can see a little bit of the green in there. And then I'm gonna do one more with the fabric again on top of the one previous inked board. And this is again called a ghost print, which you learned about before. So in class I'll show you some other stuff too, but these are just samples. And because there isn't that much ink left, I'm using the spoon. This is actually just computer paper. And pulling it off. And you can see there's still a lot of ink, and that's it.